Memories are important, whether it be walking into the synagogue at 3400 DuPont Avenue South with my family, or dropping my children off at USY, or going for Grandparents' Day at the Gan. Family, Judaism, and the synagogue have been important to Marty and me. I'm Joyce Dector Orbuch.
And I'm Marty Orbuch.
We're honored and humbled by the Adath recognition of the Orbuch family. My professional career began as a teacher in Hennepin County. I did other kinds of things, teaching and organizing, and I became an HR consultant to small businesses, interviewing, reading resumes, and evaluating candidates for company jobs. At Adath, I taught Sunday school, was the principal for Saturday and Sunday morning programs, created the centennial year events, and provided mentorship for the new building. I was an Adath board member and have been for many years, and have been president of the Adath congregation.
I'm Marty Orbuch. I attended the University of Minnesota, graduated medical school in 1957, interned at Minneapolis General Hospital, then enlisted in the United States Navy and was stationed at the Portsmouth Naval Hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia. I returned to the University of Minnesota, took a residency in psychiatry, completed that in 1963, and started private practice at the Physicians and Surgeons building in downtown Minneapolis, as well as being on the staff at Hennepin County Medical Center, Hennepin County Hospital, and also at the Anoka State Hospital and the Women's Reformatory at Shakopee. We joined the Adath Synagogue in the 1960s and have been members ever since.
Our family consists of our three children and their spouses. They are, in order of age, Terry Orbuch is married to Stuart Jankelowitz. They have two children, Abigail and Joshua. David Orbuch is married to Jill Steiger Orbuch, and they have three daughters. Their eldest is Sarah Orbuch, Alana Orbuch, and Rachel Orbuch. The youngest is Deborah Orbuch Grayson, married to Scott Grayson. They have three children. They are Shira Grayson, Mark Grayson, and Daniel Grayson.
I think it was important for our children to see that their parents not only were active, but were taking leadership so that the synagogue continued to have activities and religious teachings and social gatherings to develop a very, very positive feeling about Judaism and how it affects our lives and how it is a stabilizer, and because life sometimes has many ups and downs. So we made the effort to become active so that our children saw that and they became active in the synagogue, and it has proven to be a very positive experience for all of us.
It is our belief that we will begin the lead, but surrounding ourselves with a team of people who help to provide information and different points of view so that people can grow and learn and develop. We hope that our kids and our family and believe that they can do the same thing in whatever community they are in. my skills that I've learned over the years, my teams that worked around me, my ability to communicate with people, provided the transition to take on some additional leadership roles in the community as well as the Adath. I have never been afraid to speak in front of groups or provide insight if I felt I had it, or to share my ideas with others. And I think my interest in the synagogue, my love of Judaism, I guess allowed me to do those additional kinds of things. But I have to believe that the activities in the non-Jewish community, as well as the Jewish community, allowed me to grow and share that growth, I guess.
My role in most of those situations was supporting Joyce and listening and understanding what her feelings were and how she should express those feelings to the rest of the Adath community. We both agreed that that was the route to take for the Adath to move to an area where many Jewish families resided and had the opportunity to continue to grow and see that the synagogue emphasized trying to get more and more people into the synagogue and more families into the synagogue. So it was supporting Joyce, and because it was somewhat difficult at times because there was a lot of differences of opinion, and we wanted to make sure that everybody participated and expressed their views, which they did, and Joyce was able to have a thick skin and not take it too personally.
It was a difficult process at the time, and we moved slowly. And it's interesting that I went to a Golden Valley City Council meeting to see how they handled controversy so that I could bring that back to the board of directors of the Adath. There was a vote. I mean, it was a long process, a difficult process, but I think we really did make the right decision. And we have a beautiful building with wonderful clergy, and so I'm proud of that.
We wanted to make sure that our children and grandchildren and future generations of Jewish families not only belonged to the synagogue, but participated in the synagogue. It's one thing to come just on high holidays and other holiday experiences. Another thing is to become involved in the running of the synagogue, the direction of the synagogue, dealing with personal situations, but also dealing with the conflicts or desires or wishes of the many members of a synagogue. I think that this really is what's important in Judaism, to be inclusive rather than exclusive. And our hope would be over the years that we made sure that all people in the community felt comfortable in our synagogue, and we wanted to make sure they were welcomed in a very positive way.
I'm Terry Orbuch, and I am the oldest of Joyce and Martin's children.
And I'm Stuart Jankelowitz, Joyce and Marty's favorite son-in-law.
We live in West Bloomfield, Michigan, and we have two children, Abigail and Joshua. Growing up in the Orbuch household was wonderful. I have great memories lots of relationship psychology talks over the dinner table. We used to sit around the dinner table, and my parents used to ask lots of really probing, insightful, analytical questions. And I may not have appreciated it as much as an adolescent, but I appreciate that now. I also remember family vacations. We used to all pile into the station wagon and tour the United States or go visit family in Denver and California and Boston. And I also remember the Jewish holidays. We used to spend them at the synagogue, the synagogue, or around the dinner table again. And one of the wonderful customs or traditions that my parents did over the Jewish holidays was call the synagogue or call the federation and ask if anyone single or new to the community needed a family or a place to come and celebrate. And that was wonderful because we always had about 2 or 3 people that we didn't know at the dinner table. And I think because of that, Stuart and I have done that in the Detroit Jewish community. We call the synagogue and ask if anyone needs a house or family to spend and celebrate the holidays with.
Right. I think for me, even though I didn't grow up in the house, every time I've stayed there, it's always welcoming, always friendly. And the thing that really catches me the most is that it's always busy. There's always somebody coming, going, grandchild, child, friend, other family. It's just a very fun, welcoming place to stay.
I'm Deborah, and I'm the third of the Orbuch children. And this is my husband, Scott.
And I'm Scott Grayson, and I am the son-in-law.
So it was really about family, community, and connection with other people and connection with things that you care about. And inviting people, it was always about doors open, table, leaving a place for people at your table. The same was true at the Adath, reaching out, connecting with other people, forming relationships, and making Judaism joyful.
And while I didn't grow up in the Orbuch household, I showed up on the scene when I was 21 years old. And like you said, very welcoming, open, asked lots of questions about me, my background, my family. And from the first time I ever walked in the house, I always felt extremely welcome.
I am David Orbuch, Marty and Joyce's favorite son, only son, and middle child.
And I am Jill Orbuch, the daughter-in-law and the spouse of David Orbuch.
We had a close-knit family growing up. My older sister Terry and my younger sister Deborah and myself were involved and engaged in a variety of different school and community activities. My mom and dad both worked, but they were always home. It was really nice that we were able to get both of them home. My dad came home from work every day and was done with work by probably 5 o'clock. And my mom worked, and she was usually home about 4 o'clock. And we were a family that did a lot of things together.
And when I first met Joyce and Marty, Joyce already had a sweatshirt that she had personally designed waiting for me, because that was her way of saying, so happy to meet you. You're going to be a part of our son's life and therefore an important member of our family. And just welcomed with open arms, Marty with his wonderful questions, and Joyce with her huge, generous heart, just embraced me and welcomed me. And it's been the same for 32 years.
On Friday nights, we would go to services. And I know that many people would remember the sweets table, and there would be this long rectangular table. And at the end of the table would be somebody in the synagogue who would be pouring tea with a large plate of lemons next to the tea. And I remember when my mother was president of the Adath, she would be talking and spending a lot of time with the Adath members. And it would be my father who would really be talking to the three of us, my brother, my sister, and I. And we would all, my brother, sister, and I would take a lot of lemons from that plate, and we would go into a corner and we would do the lemon race, which would be each of us would take a lemon and see who could be the first person to eat the lemon and then open our mouth. And my father would say who would win, because some of us, myself, would be slow because, lemons are so tart. And I've tried to do that actually with my kids, but as well, the lemon race. But I remember that as a really special, fond memory, because we would be watching my mother talk to all the people and we would be having fun in the corner at the Adath.
I remember visiting Joyce and Marty for weekends and then going to the synagogue for Shabbos with us or with the kids. And I remember thinking to myself, this must be what it feels like to be like a member of the family of, let's say, Jay-Z and Beyonce. Everybody in the synagogue, talking to them and wanting to spend time with them. And, again, it showed that obviously their involvement and their impact in the synagogue was pretty great.
You have a favorite memory when my mom she was also the religious school director. So we would go oftentimes on Friday nights. And as a young person, I loved the singing and I loved, being there and getting dressed up, but I also must have fallen asleep because at that time you go after dinner, you had dinner and then you go. Well, that was pretty late. But then it was always fun while my mom was doing the schmoozing and seeing different people. My dad, my siblings and I would do there was a Friday night kiddush, and the older people in the congregation would have these huge hot tea pots, and they would be, pouring them. And the big thing was you had a kiddush with sweets and hot tea with lemons. Well, at that time I wasn't a tea person, but my siblings, my dad and I all had lemon eating contests. So that's what kept us engaged during those Friday night kiddushes.
Many memories of kiddushes Friday night. My dad used to have lemon tasting contest, who could eat the most lemons at the Friday night kiddush. We used to go there for the Purim Carnival, and just my folks wanted to make sure that the Adath was our home, that we felt comfortable, that we had a place to connect, and it was wonderful and is wonderful. One of my favorite memories of Adath is actually on Yom Kippur, Kol Nidre, when the past presidents of the Adath get to take the Torah from the Ark and bring it around the congregation. And I remember after my mom was president, watching her do that and being honored to have my mother be one of the first women presidents at the Adath and walk the Torah around the congregation. And then when I became president, and just couldn't wait till I was past president so that I could walk the Torah around the congregation with her. And it's still a very, very special time and very emotional for me to be there with my mom in a community that we love, that we both spent significant time volunteering and leading. And now we get to walk around the congregation with the foundation of our community, which is the Torah.
So when the kids were gone, there would always be different events, something on Mother's Day, something for different holidays, and all grandparents would be invited, and just sitting around with their grandparents and having them be able to celebrate with the kids coming and reading stories. It was just a really wonderful experience and opportunity for our girls to have their grandparents so much a part of their Jewish lives inside and outside of Adath.
And it was really interesting when we were at Kiddush as a kids. I remember people coming up to me and saying, "You're so fortunate because your parents had such a wonderful relationship." And that's really who they are, who they show up as, that they are each other's best friends, always have been, and it shows. So I just remember people coming up to me and saying, "You're so fortunate to have parents who love each other and have such a wonderful relationship." And that has been very meaningful for me.
It's a huge impact. They have been so generous with their time and with their money, but also I think it's more about kindness and respect, and not only caring about themselves, but caring about others. I think my parents have always had the value that we are responsible for our neighbors, that we're responsible for ourselves, but we're also responsible for our neighbors and others in the community. So that for me has had a big impact. I mean, I went into the self-help profession because of that. I am a professor because of that. And I think my top priority, key life value, is really that others and giving back is so very important.
Value of family, community, and connection to things that you care about is something that has been passed down to me, passed down to our family, passed down to our grandchildren and others. There are lots of people in the community who also have that same value, shared value, which is what I think helps to build strength at the Adopt and in the community at large. So I feel very fortunate to be a part of that and to be part of a family where those values are strong and lived out in daily activities. In addition to that, where people feel welcomed, as Scott mentioned, where there's this understanding that things are not going to stay the same, but that as things evolve, we as a community can be open to looking at how to do that and how to continue to do that, gathering information, gathering feedback, different perspectives, and wrestling with that. So not being afraid to have challenges and understanding that that's what brings us stronger together.
Picking up on that, I'd say when I think about Marty and Joyce, very open-minded, open to change, rethinking, past ideologies, all for improving the world in which we live. And when we speak about repairing the world, I really think of both of them. They're selfless. It's more about helping others and truly helping repair the world.
The impact my parents have had on the community is large, both from my dad spending 50 years at HCMC, focusing on the mental health care of our community, my mom's involvement in the education and volunteerism at Adopt in the community. What comes to mind for me about them is that some people are remembered by what they say, and some people are remembered by what they do. I think my parents are and will be remembered for how they make people feel. They feel when you get to be with my parents, listened to, accepted, appreciated. That's not just family members, but people they come in contact with. Whether it is at Lifetime, where if you walk into Lifetime with my parents, people who work there say hello. It's when you see people in the community, they know my parents. It's when you see and connect with them, they make people feel appreciated. And I think that is a gift that they have. It's beautiful. One of my favorite questions my dad asks both us and his grandchildren is, ask me anything, because he wants to be open and transparent with them, so they get to ask him whatever they want, whenever they want. And it's become a tradition. Another tradition on family holidays is he walks with each of the grandchildren, whether along a beach or around the lake, and just has special time with them so that he can listen to where they're at and hear them and be with them. And it's that brings the closeness, both of our immediate family and in the general community. Another story about my mom, about her nature. I remember when I was a kid, we were in a parking lot and someone came up and said they needed $20 to fix their car. And my mom opened up her wallet and gave him $20. I said to my mom, how do you know they really need that money to fix their car? Like, what if they're here the next day? And my mom said, it doesn't matter. We have the money. If it's needed for the car, great. If it's needed for something else, that's okay too. I'd rather give the money and be wrong than not give the money and not be able to help that person. And that's just who my mom is, someone who has a big heart, welcomes people, and really wants to help others.
Well, first of all, I have to say that I have learned so many wonderful values and approaches to life and others from my parents and both of my siblings and their families. I think the impact that I want to have on my community is that we all deserve respect and kindness, whether we are similar to one another or different, and that we all are special and unique, and we all have strengths. And if we can look at each other and see the positives rather than the differences or the issues, I think we will be a better, stronger, more powerful community for change and impact and growth.
Yeah, and for the community, I would like them to look at us and say, these are people that are very family oriented. There's importance in Jewish values and traditional Jewish values, and taking those and passing those down to, our children and hopefully future generations. And again, the lessons that Joyce and Marty teach are the importance of giving, the importance of helping, the importance of recognizing that if you are fortunate enough to have what you have, that it's not enough to just enjoy that yourselves. It's most important that other people can benefit from that as well.
Okay, what do I hope the impact will be? My hope is that the Adath continues to be vibrant, a vibrant place where people learn and come together for fun and spiritual connection, social connection, prayer, and activism, and that it continues to evolve and grow stronger through those perspectives, different perspectives, sort of like a tent, that it continues to be a place that's open and with open doors and is guided by the needs of the community at this time, as well as its intergenerational history. And that it continues to be strong and valuable and have purpose for my kids, our kids, for our kids' kids, and for generations to come, whatever that may look like. And it clearly will be different, and I think that's exciting to see what sort of shape and form it will take at that time. So that's what I hope for.
I think that's beautiful. I have nothing more to add to that. I mean, what more could I possibly say? I agree.
So I wanted to add, looking down the row, I mean, there were times that we looked and there were 6 of us, there were 8 of us, then our families grew and there were 10, 12, 16, and so on. And then people brought significant others, and it's wonderful. That's exactly what you want, for it to be a place that continues to grow. So in my family, we talked a lot about the Tree of Life, and I know you know that my parents and my grandparents put together the Tree of Life, commissioned that piece of art. And so I think in terms of that as well, a tree with roots and branches that just continue to be strong and grow in different directions, and that's really what I hope for.
We're blessed to live in an amazing community. And I'm hopeful that I can continue to learn from that community, grow with that community, and continue to give back in multiple different ways to support that community, because I want the community to be stronger tomorrow than it is today. And we're both passionate about that. And so if there's anything I can do to do that, that's what I want to do.
The impact that I hope I have been able to bring and continue to bring is that our children and friends and other family members find excitement and engagement in the Jewish community that we have found, and that we can share our love of Judaism and community, and that it will continue.
And it's been wonderful to watch our children, the next generation, not only learn from their grandparents, but hopefully learn from us and take it into their own community. Sarah, our daughter, is on the board of the Adath, the third generation of Orbuchs on the board. Alana, our middle daughter, has helped create a synagogue in Washington, D.C. with her partner under the New Synagogue Project. And they not only volunteer, but have been building that community. And Rachel in Chicago is very involved in the Chicago Jewish community, but brings together her medical students and friends for a Shabbat Chavurah. And so Judaism remains important for our kids, and it may take different paths for them as it did for us, but that's what I think Adath has brought to our family. It's that generational approach to Judaism, and mostly that when we think about being Jewish, we not only appreciate it, but it brings joy in our lives.
How have my grandparents enriched my life? That's a very hard question to answer just in one video, since my grandparents have been such role models for me since I was young. One of the main things that they've taught me together is the importance of family, the meaning of family. They've worked so hard to create a strong bond and a strong family, and I only hope that I can emulate that in the future with my own family. My grandma has taught me to be loving and accepting of not only myself, but also the people around me. And she's also taught me to be strong and stand up for myself. My grandpa has taught me to be curious, wanting to learn, as well as being able to see things from not only my own perspective, but the people around me as well. Because of them, I feel like I have grown into a stronger, kinder, and more intelligent woman, and I can't thank them enough.
Oh man, where even to begin? My grandparents have enriched my life so much. I do not think that I would be the person I am today without them. They instilled in me the beliefs of treating others how you would want to be treated, asking questions and being curious, and not being afraid to voice your opinions or your feelings. And I hope to instill these beliefs in my children and grandchildren. My grandparents are a prime example of a happy and healthy relationship. I hope to model my future relationships off of theirs. And after all the years that they have been together, I hope to love my wife as much as they love each other. If I were to even talk about the memories that I have with them, this video would be a year long. So I just wanted to say that our family that we built is so strong, and it is because of the values given down by my grandparents.
In terms of, like, when I walked in Adath and I turned to the right, there was the tree of life that was dedicated to my great-grandparents, who I'm named after. And so it just, the work that they've done at Adath has really inspired me to get involved in my Jewish community and hopefully return to Minneapolis and be part of the Adath community again. And it's something I've taken for the rest of my life, is not only to be a part of the community, but seek out leadership roles. And so I'm really happy to be a part of that, and mazel tov to them on tonight.
It's hard to imagine what my life would have been like without my grandparents, Joyce and Marty. They encourage me and their grandchildren each to put our best foot forward and to find our own meaning with Judaism and Jewish tradition. I feel very lucky that I was able to see them every week at a Dath for Shabbat. It not only made me look forward to going to synagogue every week, but it also exposed me to the rich community that they and their peers built. It really makes me want to follow in their footsteps.
Congratulations, Grandma and Grandpa, on this incredible honor. You both have enriched my life in countless ways as my biggest cheerleaders, role models, teachers, some pretty fierce competitors in card games and ping pong tournaments, and honestly, just two of my favorite people on this planet. I feel so lucky to be your granddaughter and also to have grown up just a few miles from your house in Golden Valley, because it meant that we were able to have quality time together on a nearly weekly basis. Everything from dropping by on our bikes on a whim for a quick chat, to shopping till we dropped on our birthdays together, having family Shabbats, and even going on tropical vacations as a family. I always knew that our time together would be full of fun and laughter and so many questions. And we feel so lucky to have both of you as the matriarchs and patriarchs of our family, and I know that you are both pillars in so many other communities like Adath. And when I was growing up, I always found it so surprising and a little bit eerie that no matter where we went, people would always come up to you and they would know you and be so excited to talk to you. And as I've gotten older, I've recognized that that did not happen by chance or by luck. And some people never have those types of strong ties to their communities. You both were extremely intentional.
My grandparents have enriched my life in countless ways. One of the key things that come to mind for me is a sense of curiosity and inquisitiveness. When I was younger, my grandparents would always ask us to ask them questions, ask them about our family history, ask them about social issues, ask them about what Judaism means to us. And that's really influenced who I am today and my sense of desire to learn to ask questions. And it's really rooted in what my grandparents have taught me. In terms of Adath, there's two key memories that come to mind. One is them saving pews in the Adath for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur services so our whole family could be together. And they really wanted to be together in services, in synagogue. And then the other memory is after services, we would go down for Kiddush. And I just remember, running into the Kiddush hall and trying to find my grandma and trying to find my grandpa, because those are the people I really wanted to see most.
My grandparents have enriched my life in many ways, one of the most important of them being through family. My grandparents have really instilled in us the importance of family and how much fun it is when you like your family and get to spend time with your family, and that no matter where you are in the country, no matter where you are in the world, getting time together and coming together is truly one of the most important things. In terms of how my grandparents have influenced my relationship with the community and the Adath, it has really been through their teaching of how important the community is and how important it is to be an active participant in the Adath community and the community at large, and giving back when you can, and supporting and enjoying and networking and connecting with the community. In terms of my favorite memory of my grandparents at the Adath, it would have to be when they would come to the Aleph service on Rosh Hashanah to save their pew for the Bet service, and that they would listen to Shacharit and the sermon twice, once in the Aleph service, and then again with the entire family in the Bet service, so that they could ensure that their entire family got to sit together in the same pew every single year.
My grandparents have enriched my life in countless ways and continue to serve as two of my most important role models in my life. Recently, I asked them to describe one another using 3 words. What I learned from this activity was that A, it was nearly impossible for them to describe each other in 3 words, and ended up being many, many sentences. But B, not only do the words they use for one another have a lot of similarities between them, but I also realized these were the same characteristics that I really admire about them. They talked about being accepting of others who are different than yourself. They talked about being generous, both of them being generous with your time, being generous with your money, and being generous with your energy. And they also talked about using humor in life. It's a lot easier to get through hardships when you're able to laugh about it with one another and with others. I also have a lot of fond memories with my grandparents growing up at the Adath. Whether it would be at the kiddish luncheon after being there for what seemed like hours and hours because they had to say hi to every single person there. Being convinced by my grandpa that herring was something I wanted to try. Definitely regret that decision. And as my sisters both alluded to, having that bench on the Chagim with our entire family, and especially on Kol Nidre services, watching as my grandma stood on the bima with the Torah as the past president of the synagogue, and really viewing her as the matriarch of the family, and with my grandpa having built so many amazing connections in the community, with our family, and with one another, which is something that I strive to do as I continue to get older.
It makes us so proud as grandparents to know that they are not only professional people and have done so many wonderful things in their professional careers, but in their careers as community advisors, helping others in the community. They just have been so supportive, and it makes my heart sing. I cannot describe in words how proud I am of our 8 grandchildren who have developed in such beautiful ways, completely different from each other, but in so many ways, community leaders. And it just makes me feel so good.
And I support everything Joyce has said, and feel that whatever efforts we made or involvement we did ourselves obviously affected our children and our grandchildren, and they have gone down similar paths, and that is a very warm, positive feeling to have, to see your children and grandchildren follow in some of your footsteps.